What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Darion LH Show. Come on in, like I always say. Listen, we have a very special episode for y'all because this is actually the last episode of the Pivot series. Hope y'all been enjoying the Pivot series so much. I know I have. I've learned so much from all the guests that I've had on just through the last 2 months it's been that we started that. Like, time literally does fly. But let me tell y'all, so many gems was dropped. If you missed any of it, it's available right now, of course, where you're listening at. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And it's also available on YouTube as well, and a special playlist set right there for you. Now, the guest that I have today, though, I'm going to be honest with y'all. So, I actually wanted to have this guest first. He doesn't know that. But I actually want to have him first because he had a very unique story about just pivoting and starting a gym here in Charlotte. It's ironic that I had one of his employees first, actually, other than him. But we'll get into that a little bit later, y'all. Can y'all please welcome Dad Chevere to the Darion LA Show? What's up, Dad?
What's up? How you doing today?
Man, it is so good to have you here finally, honestly. And I'll be honest, Dad, so the reason why I guess you weren't the first guest is because just as a creative, I'm always in my head. And I'm like, of course, seeing you around the gym at the training, I'm like, he's always so busy. He's not going to want to do it. Like, I just started this damn podcast. Like, who's going to want to do this? You know what I mean? But as soon as I reached out, I'm just like, oh, how you want to do it? You was like, yeah, sure. So, I don't know. It's another lesson for me to just ask people,
Yeah.
But I feel as if you have just such a unique story, exactly, just starting the training camp that I'm like, I think a lot of people can really, grow from. And hearing that, it'd be really important. So welcome.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate. And yes, I'm excited to be here, and I'm glad you asked me. And because I love storytelling. So
Yeah.
I'm glad I get to share a piece of my story with you today.
Absolutely, absolutely. So once again, we're going to get into the training camp, but first, let's just start. Just what gave you that motivation to even get into fitness and all of that? I mean, you're from Monroe, right? Which is right down the road here in Charlotte for folks who don't really know. So you're from this area, but what drove you to say, hey, I want to get into fitness?
Well, it was actually my mom. So I had worked at a summer camp when I was 16 years old, and I was a skinny kid. So I was skinny, kind of was trying to figure out myself, my identity, what I was trying to do. And I remember there was a guy who worked with me, and he came up. I was talking to a group of people. He came up to me, and at the time when baggy shirts weren't popular, right? They were supposed to be fitted. He came up. He's like, "Yo, why is there so much space between your arm and your shirt?" And then he walked away, basically saying I was small, right? And so I was like, okay, that was weird. Anyway, it turned into me and him ended up becoming friends, and he got me into exercise. He worked out with me. He was a football player at a college, local college. We started working out together. And then from there, when I came back to the summer camp, all the guys that were working as camp counselors, I was like, hey, on our lunch break, let's go work out. So I started helping them get in shape because my buddy helped me get in shape. And then after a little bit, I was working in the school system after I graduated college, and then I was like, this ain't it. Making $11.50 an hour. So my mom was like, you know what? You really enjoy helping people work out, your friends. So why don't you become a trainer? And I was like, I don't know. And she ended up buying my certification, which set me up on this trajectory to be doing it for 15 years. So
That's amazing. Shout out to the mamas out there.
I mean, yes. Biggest cheerleader, always believed in me, and she was a go-getter herself. Mm-hmm. So when she did that for me, I was like, okay, I'm going to see this through.
Yeah. Because it's one thing for someone to say, oh, I see that over your life. I can see that for you. But it's another thing to then say that, see it, and then invest it.
Yeah.
Invest into that. That just takes it to the next level of I have to at least see this through to see what's on the other side, right?
Yeah. For sure. And so from there, I did a Saturday course certification. And it's interesting because let's say there was 30 people in my class. Mm-hmm. 28 of us passed the course. And then we had to do a 30-hour internship. And the professor was like, hey, come to me. I have some places in Charlotte, local businesses, that I can set you up for an internship. And only 2 people went up and got it. And I was one of the 2. Everyone else was like, let me do my own thing. And that set me up to start at a gym, at a private gym personal training. It wasn't easy, but that was just like me getting my foot in the door.
What was your mindset really in that moment? Because like you said, you were in the school, once again, not making a lot of money, so
Yeah.
1150, but just doing that switch and making that pivot in your life and then starting and passing the test and getting the internship. What did it feel like in that moment?
Well, so I had told myself after being in the school system for like 2 years, I was like, okay, I have to make a change. I had like $500 in my bank account. So I really had just the summer to figure it out. And so it was kind of like do or die. I really didn't have another option. So from there, I just was like, okay, if I'm going to do fitness, let me make decisions that are going to get me towards my dream or my goal. So I worked at a supplement store, which I was hoping if I, from there, maybe I can meet people, get some clients. So in the process of being at the gym part-time, I was at a supplement store part-time, taking steps to being successful in fitness.
And I think a lot of times people, I think, overlook those smaller steps that you can take to get to the bigger picture. Like you said, working in the supplement store, that not only helped maybe, hopefully, possibly being able to rub up against someone's shoulder, but then also understanding fitness in that realm as well.
For sure.
Because a lot of people, the first thing, myself, I'm coming out as an actual person who's actually done it, you start working out and it's like, okay, what can I take to help this process?
Yeah.
What pill can I now take to at least kind of really get this going, So you kind of had like that double knowledge of like, oh, let's actually work out, but then also don't go buy this pill. You don't need it,
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's interesting because even though I was a stock boy, which means I didn't get to talk to people, so I was in the back like doing the deliveries.
Yeah.
I still met people that changed the trajectory of my fitness career. So I actually from there, we had a really busy day. They're like, "Hey, Thad, can you help this person?" There's a guy, Sachin, who I still train him to this day. Almost 12 years ago, I met him in the supplement store. He was like, "Hey, I want this, and that." So I gave him like, this is the protein powder, this is the creatine, like all these things. And he was grateful. And then maybe 6 weeks when his supplements ran out, he came back to the store. It wasn't busy. I was in the back working. He was like, "Hey, I want to talk to Thad." Thad hooked me up. And then from there, which is funny because this is similar to Tarek's story, from there, he was like, "Hey, there's this gym, Orange Theory. They're opening a new location. I'd never done group fitness." He was like, "You should check it out. You should check it out." And so he introduced me to group fitness, even though I was just personal training, and then kind of just from there.
Go from there. Does everybody start at Orange Theory?
Well,
like a rite of passage?
honestly, what I would say is there's probably 4 or 5 gym owners that started at Orange Theory.
Wow.
Because it was like the biggest wave of group fitness we've ever seen. So.
And I think like a cohesive, like actual experience when it comes to group fitness,
Yeah.
Because I know me, like this Apple Watch is like, it stays on me all the time. And at least when I was going to Orange Theory for a little minute, it's like, oh, okay, well, I got my little fitness band.
Yeah.
So like, because if I don't have it on, I feel as if the workout didn't count. I'm not the only one who thinks that.
You got to go do it again.
I got to go do it. Well, I don't know if I do it again. I'm just going to say, okay, maybe I got to do an extra workout this week or something, But like with Orange Theory, you have that band that kind of like, it's not kind of my backup. I actually did go, but it's really cool to hear that a lot of people do start off at Orange Theory. I guess it's almost like a kind of foundational thing because a lot of time with group fitness, you have to really engage with the people that you're actually like, trying to motivate during this workout.
Yeah, I would say it taught me the systems it takes to be successful at group fitness. It really made me a disciplined coach with timing, terminology. So even though I was there 3 years, it was one of those things where I look back where like I learned a lot from them of how to run a gym. Yeah. So it was great information. My gym is primarily strength training. Theirs is primarily cardio. So it's a different type of gym. But there's a lot of, I tell people like, I like to take the meat, leave the bones. There was a lot of meat that I took from Orange Theory.
Absolutely. So at what point did you say, you know what, I think I want to go out and start my own thing?
So actually I was an Orange Theory head coach at a Ballantyne location. And I had 2 trainers that were, there was one trainer that came up to me. He was like, "Hey, like you work really hard," because I was personal training and I was doing group fit. I was working crazy hours. They were like, "We want to open an Orange Theory." That's what they had said to me. And so we thought about like opening it, but there was like 2nd and 3rd tier markets. So then after a little bit of looking into that, another coach kind of got into the mix, and they were like, hey, let's open our own gym, right? So we actually got together and we ended up opening a gym here in Charlotte, and then it was actually like right before COVID. So that was a crazy thing, but it was a process to get there. It was like a pivot point, leap of faith to get to that, and then COVID hit, and we had to pivot again during there, and then unfortunately, it was a business partnership that went south, and that's what led me to opening Training Camp Fitness.
Yeah. Everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
Did you learn that in a moment? 'Cause
Oh,
like
for
you said,
sure.
like it was a lot of pivots in that
Yeah.
situation. How did you navigate all of those pivots?
That's it was emotional. I would say it was tough. I would say when I went from Orange Theory to the gym that I started with those partnerships, that was tough because when you tell people you're going to start a gym, they're not necessarily they're not like, okay, cool, have a great time. They're like, okay, well, you got to stop training here now, and then your money just disappears, right? And then you realize, oh, it might take me a year to open this gym with construction and locations and stuff like that. So then I found myself pivoting to a new gym that wasn't going to open for a year, and then trying to figure out, okay, how do I make money in this process while I'm trying to open this gym? You know what I'm saying?
Right. I'm funneling money out
Exactly.
while I'm trying to bring money in.
Yeah.
But I can't work here because I'm getting like
It was tough, yeah.
Yeah.
And so that happened with that gym, and then I was there almost 2 years. It was a 3 year that was like a 3 year process, almost 2 years, and then just like that partnership dissolved. Through some, we just had, partnerships are hard. I don't know if you've ever been in a business partnership, but some people say it's harder than a marriage,
Really?
right? That's what they say. And I have an amazing wife, so I would agree it is harder than a marriage. But yeah, that was something that you have disagreements. I just didn't see it. I just didn't see myself not being a part of that gym. And then one day I woke up to a text message, and it was like, boom. We're gonna let you go. And then we went through this process of really trying to, I had to get a lawyer.
Yeah.
Really went through this process of really trying to figure out how can you do this and what is due to me. And then from there, I pivoted to Training Camp Fitness.
That's a lot of mental
It is. It
within
is.
all of that, to, like you said, to actually finally get to the point where you made it out of having to pivot so much and finally get to your own space. Just to get to your own space and to be told, yeah, you're out.
Yeah.
How did you mentally?
That was tough.
Handle that?
It was that was a tough one. I would say because what happened there too is we had an awesome community at that gym, and I felt like I was like ripped out of it. So even though people had reached out and wanted to support me, you realize that sometimes people are only in your life because it's convenient. Right? Like when you show up to a gym and you see them every day, they're like, oh, but once you remove yourself, they're like, oh, see you later, Thad, or whatever.
Yeah.
And so it was like a combination of that, and then a combination of like working really hard for something, and then it being taken or it being gone the next day. So just reconciling that can happen to anything. Yeah. Not like tomorrow's not promised, and then really trying to be intentional with my life, my friendships, and my faith too. For me, that was a moment where I leaned into my faith because I didn't really know where else to go.
And it's crazy because literally, like, the sermon today was about obedience, and I'm pretty sure obedience had to really be a part of your actual process. And the pastor just talked about how through obedience then comes the plan. God's not going to give you the plan first, and then you say, okay, I'm going to be obedient to it, right?
Yeah.
It's like, you try to figure out, okay, should I be obedient or not? Like, you first have to then be obedient, and then you're going to be shown afterwards exactly the way to go. And God will lay it all out for you. So, question, what did you do in that gray area space of starting training camp and dealing with all these legal issues from, like, your last gym?
Well, so it was interesting because at that point I was like, okay, I know that I want to start another gym. So if that all happened in September of 2021, I don't know how I did it. I signed a lease to a gym, or training camp. I signed a lease to that in December December 3rd, 2021. So just 3 months later, I signed a lease to a gym. Granted, I didn't have any money because I was in a legal battle, right? And I had like private investors. They ended up pulling out because I didn't want a partnership. I wanted just to be like, let me have some private investors. I'll pay them back to get it. But they ended up pulling out. So it was like I had a lease signed, but no money. And so then I ended up there's a buddy of mine who I used to train. Him and his sister came together and they were like, hey, we believe in what you want to do. We want to help you with this process. So I ended up in a partnership with them, and they're silent. So they allow me to do all the things I want to do for the gym. So I have a silent partnership with them. We got a loan, and then that's what started the process of getting training camp, which took 13 months. After I signed that lease, it took us 13 months to get open.
That's 13 months of rent.
Well, thankfully, the person who helped me negotiate the lease said I didn't have to pay rent until I got the CO, which is crazy. So I signed a lease with no money, and I didn't know this, but they negotiated that for me to not pay the rent until we got the CO. So even though I was trying to make things work, robbing Peter to pay Paul, get it all going, and doing a free boot camp to keep the buzz for the gym, which we've done a free boot camp for the gym every week for over 3 years. It used to be during the week. Now we do it on Saturdays because we have the space. But yeah, that was a tough time too, because I was like, all right, I signed the lease. All right, now I got the partnership. And that was a process where like a part for the HVAC it was like 4 months back order, stuff like that. Yeah. So it were things that out of my control, and I just had to wait.
Wow.
Yeah.
God has his hands on you. Like his whole hand on your shoulder, because I'm like, what? Was there ever a point in that process where you said, you know what? F it. I'm just going to just go back and just be a trainer right now just give me like a year, to at least figure it out.
Yeah.
Or throughout the whole thing, you were like, nope, this is what we're doing. We're going at it.
So, this is what we're doing. We're going at. I had moved in with my parents, so that was something that helped me financially. Yeah. So that was tough though, because I was 32 years old, moving in with my parents. I was independent from them since I was 18. It was the first time I had to be like, okay, it humbled me. I was like, you know what, like, I needed to be fathered by my dad. He took me under his wing. I remember he had reached out to me because I was at a low point. He reached out to me and said, let's have dinner, and then from there. They were like, you can always come back home if you need to. So I did. And I lived with them for about a year while I got the gym open. And even though it was tough, and I was personal training to make money here or there, but it was tough, and I was tempted to quit, but I was like, I signed the lease. Like, I got to get this thing open. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I was committed. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it was like, even though it was one of those things where like I wanted to quit all the time, but because I was committed to the process, I just had to keep going.
Gotcha. And like Tariq said, like within the first episode of Pivot series, about like it was the discipline of it. Like, I mean, it's one thing to have motivation, because motivation comes here and there, but to have the discipline to say, you know what, I'm going to keep going. Like, yeah. I got this, and to have that village around you,
for sure,
was once again God's whole hand being on you to be like, no, I got you. Yeah, I got you. And I mean, going back just to your faith, what kept you lined with your faith during that time?
It was tough, because I would say even starting the gym, it was hard. The first year was hard. We had an SBA loan, and it was adjustable. So when the interest rates went up, all the progress we made that first year was going to pay that loan. Wow. So I just remember like thinking, oh, we're getting members, and then we weren't saving money. Like, it was just going to pay off the interest. So that was tough too. It was one of those things where like I was like, God, it felt miraculous how I got the gym without they didn't check my credit. They didn't. I had someone vouch for me. But they didn't check my credit. They didn't check my net worth. They just knew that I was due to some money because of the lawsuit with the other gym. But they really, like, how I got this building was God. You know what I'm saying?
Literally.
But it was one of those things where I was like, okay, it was a miracle to get here, but why is this so hard?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
The process has been hard, and I would say it's still challenging, but it's getting to a point where like I'm like, okay, let me steward what's in front of me well. Like I have these people that entrust me with it. Let me give them the best quality workout. How can I be, other than a trainer, how can I be a good friend to these people when they need it? And then really just the trainers. My goal is always to, if they need mentorship, be there for them. And Tarek is one of those guys that I feel like when I met him, I was like, oh, this is someone I want to take under my wing and
Yeah.
and if I can, speak into his life a little bit.
Yeah. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
He's a great guy. Great guy. And let's talk about opening up the gym.
Okay.
I mean, finally, after all of that, you get to the point, the gym is now open. How did it feel in that moment, seeing something that was at once not even a thought because it wasn't even supposed to happen, right?
Yeah.
To now, like, it's becoming something that you had to do to now becoming a reality.
It was cool. I mean, it was like we had our grand opening. We packed it out. We had like 120 people in there. It was just one of those things where you're like, wow, these people really came to support. And it was one of those things where it was overwhelming. Like I remember my wife, she was my girlfriend then. Right after the workout, we had gotten there, and she had a card for me and a fancy bottle of wine, and she was like, congratulations. That really was like, it was like the after party after the event, and I was like, okay, all right, so we're open. Now it's time to work. Yeah. Like I've been working the whole time, but there's like, now it's time to really put in the work. So
gotcha. Which leads to my next question of like, how the hell do you start a new gym? Because like, I mean, gyms are in some ways like churches. They're on every corner.
Yeah.
You can go anywhere. And then also with some people too, well, a lot of people, they have gyms in their own apartment, right?
Sure.
So it's like, I'm not only having to get you out of your apartment, I'm also having to get you out of your apartment and drive your car to me. How do you even start that process? Of course, you already probably have people that, you work with when it comes to like personal training, but how do you then build upon that?
I would say it's one of those things where I think if you're genuine in your approach, like first of all, you got to be good at what you do. You got to get people results. Yeah. People come to you to get results. And the second aspect is the community. And I think it starts at the top. If you have genuine leaders in your gym, they can really sense the community. And it trickles down. So getting people results with that sense of community, and then from there you just grow. Yeah. And like community shift, they go down. But I would say if you can be consistent in the energy that you bring and the product that you bring, I think you're bound to be successful if you just keep doing that.
Yeah, I think building a culture as well, which is what which really drew me to your gym, was just the culture of it all, and even like the Saturday workouts, and hell, I'm like a promo person myself. Because like, a lot of people be like, I remember a guy at my gym, we were working out, well, I wasn't working out with him, he was just in the gym. He was like, where you go work out? I'm like, oh, I got a training camp right around the corner. I live in Noda, so it's like right around the corner. He was like, yeah, I just don't want to spend a lot of money. I'm like, well, Saturdays is free. So just come check it out Saturday, And he he was so damn tired. He couldn't finish the workout. I felt so bad because I'm like, damn, I done got this man into something he can't finish. But he loved it though. He really, really loved it though. And I really appreciate that even when I move here to Charlotte with Stefana gym like yours, because I'm big upon like, I can work out anywhere. I can go anywhere and get a workout, I won't like it, but I can still go anywhere I want to. But what's going to keep me coming back? Yeah. And it's that culture. It was just that niceness immediately. The first day I showed up, it was just that welcome feeling. And I think you've done a very amazing job creating a culture like that here within Charlotte. So you should be very proud of yourself.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Like very, very proud of yourself. So what does it look like next for training camp?
Well, that's a great question. So I think so the interesting thing about training camp too is that when I opened the gym January of 2023, and then by the end of the year I married my wife, and we also took on 3 foster kids. So we had 3 foster kids for a year and a half, right? So I would say family life business life, and then my wife travels for work, and then now we have an 8-month-old. So the foster kids reunited with their mother, which is amazing.
Right.
But it was one of those things where I was trying to balance it all. So I think in the process of having a new gym and then having a new wife and kids and all those things, it made me realize, like, okay, community's important, family's important, and you know, it's one of those things where, like, kind of approach the gym with open hands. Like, so really do what I can to make it successful at the end of the day. But the number one thing for me is, like, I want to be a family man. So, like, whether I crush it, or it's moderately successful, or maybe it doesn't turn out the way I thought, I'm approaching it with the fact that I know I'm giving the best effort with what I got.
Gosh, what's like the number one thing that people can learn from your story? Or what do you hope people take from hearing your story that can really get them to the next level in their own lives?
I think what I tell people is, like, if you keep showing up, eventually you'll be the last person in the room. And I think a lot of people quit early, right? So just keep showing up. No matter how hard it gets, keep doing the work, keep showing up, because other people don't do it. I don't know if you've noticed that in other careers, like, people quit early. They want that instant gratification. Being successful is a grind. And it's a grind that no one really sees, no one notices. No one, like, gives you a pat on the back. But once you get to that point where you're like, oh wow, like, I look back, this is where I was, and I'm here now. So I would say perseverance, keep showing up, good things will happen.
Yeah. And just do it.
Yeah.
That is, I know it's Nike saying, don't sue me, Nike, I don't have the money. But, like, just doing it. Like, just doing it. And like you said, it's taking that first step, because a lot of people don't and a lot of people won't.
Yeah.
And I just went to a conference here recently, National Association of Black Journalists, and so many people came up to me, and I was just found myself answering sort of the same questions, because they want to know, like, okay, you took a step out of the industry, like, what does that look like, and how everything with the podcast. And it's just like, you can tell that people, they have it in them. But just like you said, you have to be in the space to then unlock it.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people don't want to unlock it because they're afraid of what's on the other side.
Yeah.
And my advice to them always is just do it.
It doesn't have to be
what
perfect.
Do you have to lose?
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be perfect.
No.
It's kind of messy.
Yes.
It's kind of messy.
Messy as hell. Like,
Yeah.
starting even this podcast here, like, starting it, like, literally, like, I was like, oh my God, I got the cameras, I got everything, I'm going to do it on my own. And everything just went to shit immediately.
Yeah.
Like, after 4 episodes, it was like, now I'm back at square one. Kind of like, same thing you were saying about, like, hey, I had the investors, now they all backed that. Now I got a lease with no rent money. What do I do? What do I do? And then once again, God places his whole hand on it, because he never lift up off of it, and everything just starts opening up, and it just starts making sense. And now I'm in this space, and it's just, everything works out. And I, like you said, I think people don't give themselves enough time to get to that level and get to that point that it does work out.
Correct. I agree. I agree.
So, like, it's the hardest thing, but like you say, it is a grind.
It is.
It is tiring.
It is.
Like,
But honestly, like, if you look at people who are successful, it didn't happen overnight.
No.
It never does. And there's always, what do they say? Like, you see the tip of the iceberg, right? Yeah. And that whole thing is under it. And even too, one of the things too is, I think Theodore Roosevelt said it. He's like, comparison is the thief of joy. Our goal, like, when you're grinding and it's not working out, like, you got to be like this, because once you look at other people and they're crushing it, a part of you can be like, I wish I had that, and be discouraged. Yeah. But I think the better way to look at it is that I want to be where they're at. Let me go pick their brain. Let me see what I can learn from their experience.
Absolutely. Any last words, and also let the folks know how they can come check out the training camp?
I would say just keep grinding, keep pushing. Good things are going to happen. And you can find us at trainingcampclt.com or on Instagram, trainingcampclt. We do a free boot camp every Saturday. 8 a.m. and we have a run club that we do at 8 a.m. as well on Sundays. So we offer some really cool free stuff. And then we're actually in the month of September, we're going to be doing a free week of strength training that we're just going to give to everyone because we're just kind of celebrate summer being over.
Yeah, I was about to say that too. Like, you guys really helped me too in the transition because like money got a little funny for a little minute. So I had like my free week, and I'm like, I really don't have like the money to pay for like the whole month. But then at the free boot camp,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, it's gonna be like $25 for next week. I'm like, perfect. Like now I can come back. So shout out to you. You know, people appreciate that. I don't know if anyone ever told you thank you for that, but I'm here to tell you thank you for that. Like that really does help out people who, don't want to go to the front desk and ask for a discount.
Yeah.
But like, thank you so much for just being in the community, for having such an amazing gym, and also for coming here and just being vulnerable and telling your story. We appreciate you that.
Well, I appreciate you having me.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Darion LA Show. We'll be back here next week for the start of the Come Up series. That's right, y'all. We're going to have so much more on that in the next episode. But for now, thanks for joining us.